What to do and how to deal with the growing migration. Luxembourg. The police ministers of 27 countries gathered to finally move the toxic question: who should take care of the people who seek peace and asylum in Europe? What to do with those whose application is not granted and they are forced to stay in camps behind barbed wire for years? Frankly, in conditions unacceptable for humans. They've been trying to solve the issue since 2015. But to no avail. Some take on a lot of load while others take none. Honestly, I couldn't believe I would sit here and say all this, but I'm very happy. I'm very proud that ministers today have developed common approach to migration management as well as to the regulation of the asylum procedure. The reform has only just been agreed upon, however, it has already managed to drive a wedge between the members of the large and friendly family. Poland and Hungary were against it, while Bulgaria, Lithuania, Malta and Slovakia abstained. So, according to the proposed items, the measures will be radical. People who arrive in the land of European civilization will be directed to strictly controlled reception centers. Filtration camps are temporary. Those who get filtered to Europe will go, those who don't go home. Here it is important to note who will be considered arriving from safe countries. The West clearly divides between migrants and refugees. Refugees are those who are fleeing from natural disasters, wars and so on, and migrants are kind of those who want an easy subsidized life at the expenses of the European Union. But didn't the coalition countries ruin every last crumb of their colonies in Africa, put their puppets in power through revolutions and civil wars? Many of those who today risk their lives to come to the continent were children when their countries were being crumbled by democracy, and promised that a cheeseburger would save them from all troubles and give them a free life like in Europe or America. So they run by any means necessary to get that promised cheeseburger. Perhaps most interestingly, if some countries do not agree to share the burden that is to help migrants, will have to pay 20,000 euros per soul per year into the fund to be managed in Brussels. At the same time, the European Union budget allocated only 200 million euros for migrants. That works out to 50 euros per person per year. Greece, Italy and Spain seem to be happy. They were the ones to bear the brunt of migration. Meanwhile, the number of refugees, or as Europe like to call them migrants, is growing rapidly. Compared to last year, there is about a threefold rise at the moment. The figures from the International Organization for Migration are the most relevant. About 77,500 migrants arrived on the continent this year. 1,257 people are dead or missing. 70,500 reached Europe by the sea route. About 7,000 came by land. Now a stone is being thrown at Poland and Lithuania, which are suffering from migrants. And here are the top 5 countries they come from: Côte d'Ivoire, West Africa, Guinea, Egypt, Syria, Pakistan. Now let's turn our attention to Côte d'Ivoire. It is, by the way, a former French colony. Ivory Coast is one of the most pro-American countries in Africa, to say the least in the world. The per capita income can be even described as quite high in theory. Its resources include oil, natural gas, gold, diamonds. It is a major exporter of cocoa beans. And then there is the slave labor of the children and those bean plantations. Many of those are owned by an American subsidiary of Nestle. The children work for food. Revolutions can break out from time to time. Do not let the country recover from crisis. External patronage fuels opposition and violence grows.
We should solve this migration issue not here in Europe, but there. We need to withdraw our troops from there. We need to funnel the billions to rebuild destroyed countries like Iraq, like Syria, like Libya, instead of helping the migrants. Of course, all people want to live in their own place, in their own home, and only the outside environment can push them to make such a drastic decision. In general, the migration issue is the United States' deliberate policy, because we know who destroyed the Middle East. They simply want to weaken the European Union, which is their economic competitor.
But let's go back to the refugees in Europe. The number of those stranded in Europe is about 134,000. Where are they mostly placed, or who takes the main hit? 117,000 are placed in Italy as of to date. Greece, with 25,500, is in the second place. Bulgaria has more than 2,000. After being filtered in a refugee camp, they are to be placed around Europe by solidarity principles.
We accepted several million refugees. We can say that on a permanent basis it is about 1.5 to 2 million. If you multiply that by 22,000 euros, it would be somewhere between 20 and 30 billion euros. As for the aid we received, it is at a very good count, 100 euros per capita. This is a mockery of Poland. The discrimination is extremely brazen. Poland is intolerant to migrants of any race other than white skin color. We need your help. Help us, please. We need asylum in Poland.
They are not accepted as Ukrainian refugees. At best, humiliating strip searches, unsanitary conditions in accommodation facilities, or forced sedation. They were forcibly injected with drugs until they were insane and then taken away. Here it must be said that people who refuge from Africa and the Middle East are completely indifferent to the difficulties they may encounter on the way. They sail across the Mediterranean Sea, sneak across the Alps into France. What is defense to them when they risk their lives? At least 79 people died in Greece later this week. Hundreds have been reported missing. The deadliest migrant shipwreck happened off the coast of Greece this year. It is believed that there were about 600 people on board. 104 people were saved. In other words, there has been a dramatic increase in the number of refugee deaths, and they, by hook or by crook, go wherever there is the slightest chance for life, education and labor, not slave labor.
I was in detention centers in Libya many times and was constantly subjected to slavery in these places. I had to work for 3 months straight without pay, without the provision of the necessary basic human needs. Limited access to food and clean drinking water is what the Europeans cannot deny themselves. I couldn't drink water after waking up and didn't sleep well. They don't let newborn babies sleep and then put them in a suffocating room where they have to endure brutal, humiliating human violations. Therefore, we believe that the EU authorities are not looking for alternatives for this situation.
So, the European Union decided to slam the door loudly in front of those whom they have previously ruined. Wars, violence, famine. They seek refuge not from the sweet life, but in search for it. And of course, Europe is trying to scream with its last bit of strength. Life is solidarity. It is hardly a life, but there is a growing intolerance comparable to that of the Nazis.